I'm going to say it now. Davon Rogers. She's the worst player in Big Brother history.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Real Talk
with real siblings. Have we got a show for you today? This week is nuts.
We have a lot to talk about because this house is a hot mess. It has just like spiraled into chaos.
It has.
And tears. And we got a lot to talk about.
So let's start from the source of the chaos with the eviction. So Kaysar and Christmas were on the block. I think we all kind of knew what was going down. There was attempts and conversations last week. Ian had started to kind of marshal the troops, right, with Bailey and Kevin and Davon, but there was never any plot to save Kaysar, which was weird. And then it came down to the vote, and by a vote of 10-0, Kaysar was evicted from the Big Brother house. I think we all saw it coming. The queen and king are both gone now, and it's for the best. This house sucks.
But before he left, Kaysar took a stab at doing what he's wanted to do since season 6, which is burn the house down. With his eviction speech, he borrowed a little bit from Dr. Will, and he started off and he was like, I like all of you guys personally. That's different from Dr. Will. He's like, but your gameplay, it sucks. All of you suck in terms of playing this game. And then he goes out to call out essentially Cody, Nicole, and Tyler and Danny, and just said, saying, hey, they're running the house, and if you're not targeting them, you're essentially not playing this game. So if you want to play this game, keep me. And if you want to be a sheep and award, $500,000 to one of these 4, then, evict me. And they evicted him.
He did do a good job of planting the seeds, and it was perfect because the HOH competition this week was not the sort of competition that you could hide your alliances in. It was one of the ones where you have 2 people face off and they end up picking, whoever wins picks the next 2 people to compete against each other, which are always great competitions to reveal where people stand in the house. So it was a video competition where they had to look at, photoshopped faces of the house guests. And the questions would be like, in 10 of these photos, people are wearing cat ears or whatever. And how many of these photos are people wearing cat ears? More, less, or equal to 10. They would hit more, less, or equal to whatever number Julie gave. And we actually have the rundown of who went up against who and who they picked.
Yeah, so it starts off, Ian and Kevin, they go against each other first. And this is like by random selection. So they go against each other first. Kevin buzzes in with the right answer. Ian is out. It's knockout style. Ian is out. And he does a bit of an acting job. He's like, oh my God, I don't know who to pick. Oh my God. Cody and Nicole. So he picks.
Yeah, because he said, because I'm just weirded out by everything. I guess presuming what Kaysar, said in his speech.
But
it's just Kevin. That's just how Kevin is.
Yeah, so Cody wins, and Cody turns around and picks Kevin and Davon. Davon wins, and she turns around and picks Cody in Memphis. So that was kind of interesting, but in a sense, it makes sense because Cody picked her. So if Davon goes up there and picks Cody, to me, that was like equal. I didn't think that was bad.
Yeah.
So from between Cody and Memphis wins, and then Memphis picks Danny versus David, which I thought was really interesting and probably a great pick for him because to me, it seemed really neutral. Obviously, he's going to pick David. The whole house knows he does not pick And even though he picked Danny and they're, in this alliance together, I mean, he has to kind of cover his butt. So I thought that was fine. Danny wins. And here's where the drama comes in. Here's where actually really the confirmation of the seeds that have been planted all week, right? Yeah. So Danny picks Davon versus Bailey. And you see the 2 girls, Davon and Bailey, walk up just like, okay, we're doing it. So we're doing this. So Davon and Bailey go against each other. Davon wins. So fingers are crossed.
And Davon picks Danny in Memphis. Memphis wins that one. Memphis picks Tyler and Day. Tyler loses that one, so Day advances again. Day picks Christmas and Memphis. They're the last 2, I believe, at that point. Christmas wins because Memphis gets it wrong. And then it's Day against Christmas. And the new HOH is Christmas. Day got it wrong. So Christmas managed to win a second HOH by doing nothing.
Literally nothing. She didn't answer one question. She did nothing. Christmas, her hand wasn't even near the buzzer. Like,
Yeah.
Davon, I'm sure she could feel like the weight of like, oh my God, I got this. Oh my God, I could win. And she jumped in. She's like, and even when she shouted her answer, I was like, that's not right. That's not right. Oh
Yeah.
God. Yeah. So that's what we have.
So Christmas is part of the larger committee alliance, which is it's not really an alliance. It's just a bunch of people that agreed to go after Davon and Bailey. So,
And Kevin and David.
Yeah, well, draw your own conclusions. And Christmas is she's a good little soldier. So she really wants to stick to that alliance. Danny and Nicole are in her ear ASAP about putting Tyler on the block, about betraying the alliance and well, Nicole's been very good about telling Christmas to trust Cody. Danny's kind of been the opposite. There's this, little, it's not an angel and a devil on her shoulder. It's just two little devils on her shoulder telling her different little devil whispers. But that's where Christmas is at.
So after the HOH, feeds are down for a bit. And when they come back, we see that there's tension, there's tears, and apparently a wall has been punched. Bailey and Danny got into it a little bit. It kind of seems like it was just a little bit. There was just some tension. Bailey felt like Danny was staring at her. He was staring at her.
That's a great Bailey impression.
So she was like, why are you staring at me? If I did something wrong, I apologize. And Danny was like, okay, I wasn't staring at you. And then they separate and Danny's off crying. And then Bailey's off crying. And she tells Davon later, I was so upset I punched a wall. I'm like, this is what happens when you evict the last good
adult in the house.
And this is hell. It's hell. It's hell.
Yeah, it's a mess. And it seems like it came as a result of the basement. So there's a new room in the house. We forgot to say that. The safety room is closed, as we know from last week. So the new room in the house is the Big Brother basement. And the idea is that it's going to give 3 people different powers that will last. I don't think they say how long they'll last, but the idea seems to be they'll each last for 3 weeks. Each power will. There was a competition. It seems like everybody went to the basement. The whole setup that Julie revealed on the eviction episode was that it was like a dark room. You have to kind of walk around, navigate this pitch black room and, overcome some obstacles. So we do know a few of the powers that came out of that. The first one that we had confirmed on the feeds was that Danny has a power that she hates that allows her to let the HOH play.
This is the worst power. I mean, I don't want to seem ungrateful, but this is the worst.
Yeah, it allows her to let the HOH play in the HOH, the outgoing HOH play in the next HOH competition. It lasts for 3 weeks. That's one power we know. I don't think it's not necessarily a game-changing power, but it can be used effectively. A lot of the time it's not the power you have, it's how you use it, or don't use it, or threaten to use it, or lie about it. Danny, if it sucks, just lie about it. Anyway, so she told everyone the truth, apparently. And I don't know, maybe she's lying. Maybe it's way stronger than that, and she's downplaying it, and she's going to flip the house. But I don't.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to lie and act like you have a lesser power than you. Yeah. You want to wield it like a sword, and, but yeah, she's crying about it, and it seems like her power actually does suck.
Yeah.
And then the second power we have seems like Christmas won a power. Mm-hmm. The blocker, as it's called.
Yeah, and so that one allows her to block a renom. So if the veto is used and the HOH wants to put somebody else up, Christmas can say, stop in the name of Big Brother powers acquired during week 5 basement competitions. She can put a stop to that, and she can't renom somebody else herself, but the HOH has to nominate somebody else, which, again, not super powerful, but could be used effectively. There's a lot of ways to use that in a strategic way that Christmas definitely won't identify.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, yeah. I mean, let's be real. Either Tyler or Enzo will use that power because they're going to tell Christmas what to do, and she's pretty much
100%.
What they say she should do with it.
Yeah.
So we see Christmas has blabbed about her power and winning a power, and then we see Danny has blabbed about winning a power. And the third power is question marks. We don't know who has won the third power because they have not said a word to anyone about it, which to me automatically eliminates Davon, Bailey,
Kevin.
David.
Kevin is out.
Kevin is out. Although
Cody's out. I think Cody's out. I think Cody would tell Enzo.
I think Cody would tell Enzo. I think Enzo could keep it quiet. And I think Nicole could keep it quiet.
Yeah, and Tyler.
And Tyler certainly could keep it quiet since he won a power in his season and kept it quiet. So it'd be interesting to see who wins.
It seems like the House suspects Enzo. That seems to be the word going around. And Enzo had this incredible conversation with, I think it was Nicole or Danny. It might have been Nicole. It might have been Christmas. It was Christmas. He was talking to Christmas. He does that a lot. And he basically, like, they were talking hypothetically about what the powers could be, and he nailed them. Did you see that?
I saw that.
That was nuts. Like, he said for sure the first power. I think he also identified the second power, which seems to indicate that either he's just in the zone or
that's his power? Didn't know everyone else's power?
Right, yeah, no. Or maybe it was a situation where he completed the task first and was able to choose from the powers in a way or something that I don't know. We'll see. But it seems like he seems to know more than he should, or he's just nailing it. I don't know.
That's interesting. If he, okay, I like that. That's a good idea. I mean, if he possibly finished first and got to pick, so because he got to pick, he knows the other powers, then you would think he would want to keep that, like, not reveal the other powers, because then that's like essentially saying, hey, I won, I have my own power.
Yeah.
But he could have just been like, okay, it's probably this.
He could have been fishing too, right? I mean, if he does know the powers and he's talking to somebody who he's not sure if that person has a power, if you say the power that they have as if you're just like, I don't know, it could be anything, right? And you nail it, then it's like, all right, well, you're going to see a reaction from the person in some way or another. I'm sure, Enzo makes reads, and I'm sure he was looking for something. Interesting.
So I think my guess is that I think someone like Tyler or possibly Ian could have the power. I think Enzo does some cam talk, so I think if he had it, if he had it, he would say something. It could be Nicole, but I just don't want her to have it, so I'm just not. So after that, we have nominations. I mean, I think everybody really knows who's going up at this point, and it's no surprise. Davon and Bailey are put on the block. We got our block buddies.
Yeah, and there was this fun conversation with Kevin and Davon. Shortly before nominations, Bailey was, I think, in the bathroom crying, as she had been doing for like hours at that point. And Davon told Kevin that, Kevin's like, where's Bailey? And Davon said that, and he's like, she needs to get out of there. She needs to go campaign, basically. Like, what is she doing? She's wasting an opportunity. And it was this incredible moment of irony and a lack of self-awareness in Kevin that he consistently demonstrates throughout the house, where he's totally unaware of the fact that literally just last week he was on the block and he had a meltdown. And he did very little campaign for himself. He won the veto, luckily, but he did almost nothing to sway anybody's opinion about whether or not they should vote for him. To be fair, they were targeting Kaysar. It was just also just a tone deaf moment as a person, right? Like, it's a game and it's always a game, but that's just a weird reaction to, like, somebody's in the bathroom crying because they're going on the block. Like, well, they should stop crying. Like, come on, bro. Like, is that how crying works, Kevin? Is that how it works? It was just weird.
And later he has a conversation with Daly. I'm just going to start calling them Daly. He has a conversation with Daly, and, he revises history, and he's like, don't you remember when I was on the block last week? Like, yeah, I cried for a little bit, but I gave myself 5 minutes, and afterwards I was like, girl, you needed to get it together. And I started campaigning, and I started going and talking to the enemy, like, be like me. Be like me. Shut up, Kevin.
I have a suggestion for CBS. The Big Brother catapult. Every week you catapult just Kevin outside the damn house. I'm so tired of him. We're going to get to that. I'm tired of everybody in the house. I hate everybody. Janelle and Kaysar are gone. I want the house to literally catch on fire. I don't like anyone left in the house except Tyler. I kind of do like Tyler. And Ian. He's my boy. But
it's so bad. Literally with Janelle and Kaysar leaving, like, it is erupted. It's a mess. They were the last sane people in the house. Look, they clocked it season 6. They were like, look, what if the whole point of this is to put 2 sane people in a house with crazies? And that's what they did. Like, apparently, just, last night, Ian was trying to self-evict. Ian was, like, literally trying to self-evict because apparently Bailey was confronting him and accusing him of, blowing up her game. So Ian's like freaking out. And also apparently earlier, I think it was like after nominations, but Ian is talking to Bailey and he calls her Davon.
Yeah.
And Bailey was like, Oh, hell no. So are you saying I don't have my own identity? She makes it such a big deal.
Yeah.
I
And it's
remember.
also like, you know, obviously there's a long history of Black people being mistaken for each other. Everyone who's Black ever has gotten
100%. My own mom calls me
it.
like, oh, Moses. Oh, wait,
To be
Joy.
clear,
Oh,
our
wait.
parents aren't racist, but like their names are literally one letter apart, and those two letters are the most similar letters in the English alphabet. There's no more opportunity to mess up people's names than Bay and Day. You
And they
do it
rhyme.
every week on this show. Like, it's super easy to mistake. Bailey has to let that one go. And he caught it immediately. It's not like he said it and just kept going. Like, it's just a slip of the tongue. But that's, Bailey's brand is, she has any identity in the house separate from Day. It's the fact that she's an absolute psychopath and Day can sometimes keep things cool. So let's talk about that, actually. Let's talk about that.
I will start off with saying that I do, yes, Bailey, Davon, there are a lot of people in the house playing the trash game. I do focus on Bailey and Davon because I like them and I want them to succeed. Like, I like them outside of the game. I follow both of them in social media. I stan them. Like, I think they're funny. I think they're interesting. I think they can bring the drama when they need to, but they're trash at playing this game.
So bad.
I will say, however, with the tears and with the, Bailey blowing up, like, I think she's leaning into that victim role a little bit. But the problem is that, like, that victim role is already being played by Nicole. Yeah. There can only be one victim in this house. Nicole has that on lock, and that has been her brand since the beginning. Okay, that's not Bailey. And so I think when she tries to do that, like, people don't have any sympathy for her, and then they're kind of, they egg her on, they poke her, and then they antagonize her a bit more, and then she blows up.
So I'm gonna say it live. This isn't live. I'm going to say it now. Davon Rogers, that's her name, right? Last name Rogers, is the worst. I can't say it. She's not the worst player in Big Brother history, but she's the worst player in Big Brother history. She's the worst player in Big Brother history. And it sucks because we all like her, but she's consistently awful. She doesn't know when to sit on information. She doesn't know when to use information. She doesn't know how to gather information. She can't win a competition. This week has been a masterclass from her, an inside the actor's studio, James Lipton interview of bad gameplay from Davon. Yeah. First off, before the nominations go up, Danny goes to her and says, basically, Tyler was throwing you under the bus. Now, Davon, Danny has not been on your side this entire house. You guys don't have a personal relationship. You guys don't have a game relationship. Tyler has been on your side for a good part of this house. You guys have at least a game relationship. You seem to be building a personal relationship. When your enemy comes to you, tell you lies about your friend, why would you believe the enemy? It makes no damn sense. It makes no sense. So first thing Davon does is believe everything Danny says. Then she goes to blow up Tyler's entire game to the rest of the house. It's infuriating. She goes to tell Bailey all the things that Danny just made up about Tyler. She goes to tell Bailey to poison that relationship. Davon literally believes the last person to talk to her. And it's something that you can forgive after one season of Big Brother. It's something you can forgive after 2 seasons of Big Brother. Fool me thrice? Fool me thrice? That's not even a saying. It's fool me twice. You can't get fooled 3 times. And yet it happens. It's unbelievable.
It's just, you went in.
I'm tired, yo. I need a nap.
You said it perfectly. You really said it perfectly. Davon refuses to believe her allies, and she only believes her enemies. Time and time again. We see that now. I mean, she's talked behind, Bailey's back. She's talked behind Tyler's back, certainly Kevin. The people that are not immediately gunning for her, and the people that have been gunning for her since day one, she just eats up whatever they like. It's just it's baffling to watch. And I think the thing with her and Danny is that Davon has it in her head that the fans want to see her and Danny, 2 queens, work together. We don't think Danny's a queen. And Davon, you're kind of a princess, but you're really on your way out of the royal
court. No. Damn, you called her a princess. She called you a princess, Dave. Dave's going to see this after she gets out the house.
She can't be a queen in this game. She hasn't won a competition. Okay, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. But it's like, And so that I really think that is driving her relationship with Danny, is this belief that the fans want to see it. We don't. And if we did, we no longer do. So here's what I would have liked to have seen with this. All right, here's how I would have liked to have seen this play out. I've seen this, but we've seen this before, and I've seen this done really just impeccably in BB Can, the season where we had the Pretty Boys, right?
Yeah.
If someone who you've been working with, you hear something about them, that they've been plotting against you, that they have maybe been planting seeds. One way to do it, and I think what we, the most common way we see is that person just goes out like, this person is coming against me, and they just fire back. All cylinders go. They launch an attack on that person. Mm-hmm. What about going to that person who you've been working together, right? You've been having strategic conversations. You've been planning. Go to that person and say, yo, I've been hearing this. I don't believe it. So what should I say to this person? And then you bring them in. You work out with, instead of going against Tyler, say, hey, Tyler, here's what I'm hearing Danny saying. How should I respond to Danny? You and Tyler work together. Tyler now trusts you a bit more because he's like, cool, she didn't just go blow up my game. She came and talked to me. We formulated a plan. You're on the same page with him, and you feed that to Danny. Even if Tyler thinks, okay, she might suspect that it was me, he's going to appreciate that you didn't blow up his game. So you're probably not going to be his target the next week. Maybe a few weeks down the line, but you're safe for the next week. Bailey and Davon have burned all their bridges.
Everyone.
All their bridges in the house. They have no avenue. It's ridiculous.
All right, that's all from us. Like and subscribe. We'll see you next week on But that really is all for us. It's a frustrating week. We have the veto players picked. That's going to go down. In addition to Christmas Bay and Bay, of course, we have Ian, Nicole, and Danny.
I will predict now, based on how 2020 is going, based on how BB All-Stars has been going, the one person who really should not win the veto is going to win, and that's Danny.
Yep. Like and subscribe. Real talk, real sibling, whatever. It's depressing.
Stop.
It's a dark week.
Yo, that's it. It's all downhill from here. It's all downhill from here.
Yep.
But we'll be back every week to tell you what's going on in this dumpster fire.
See y'all later.
Bye.